The next guest, we went to South Africa by Zoom, recorded this one, and it was with Annemarie. Gerard, this lady has done so much around emotional intelligence and all those studies that help you be a better person, something that you were just saying about yourself. But this week she's talking about conversational intelligence, Gerard.
It is so important is that, emotional intelligence was a big thing a few years back, and it was everybody had to do it. But the follow-on effect on that now is the conversational part. And to me, this is actually more important, especially in the business. You need to understand this concept in your business.
Annemarie, welcome to the show. Great to chat with you all the way there in South Africa. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yes, very well.
So, Annemarie, one of the things that have come up, people talk about, business, and they talk about interacting with staff, customers, suppliers. And what fascinated me was one of the topics and one of the areas that you specialize in called this conversational intelligence. And I thought it'd be great to have a chat to you about that. Could you just give us a little bit of a little snapshot of what it actually means before we get into some of the deeper questions around it?
Yes. So, Michael, very basically, emotional intelligence is when you understand yourself and you manage yourself, self-management. Conversational intelligence, on the other hand, is when you connect with others and you grow with others. So it's more we-centric, whereas emotional intelligence is more I-centric.
So to connect with, when you talk about on what you just spoke on there, conversational intelligence, what are some of the starting points, or what are some of the challenges do you find people face when they start to try and engage in this or try to learn this as a skill set?
It's such a good question. Initially, the whole principle of conversational intelligence, it's based on trust. So you as a leader or as a conversational partner has to navigate a conversation so that your conversational partner then goes to a specific part of the brain, which is called the prefrontal cortex. And it's when you sit there that you secrete serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine. And that only happens when you trust someone. And that when you trust someone, you literally open up. You become more creative. You become more innovative, you're easier with change. So one of the difficulties is, to create that trust, that environment of trust.
In my years of in business, and I understand the trust factor, and I'm pretty simplistic, and I say trust is based on just two things. One, the person's got to believe that you're competent in what you do, however they measure that. But the other factor is they've got to believe you've got their best interests at heart. Is that kind of encapsulating your definition of trust?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because if those two elements are there, credibility and that you matter, because all of us want to be understood and we want to be accepted. We want to feel that we matter. And as soon as I feel that I do matter within a team, within a bigger organization, my state will be towards, and I will be open, and I will want to be the best version of myself.
So I like how you said that you matter. And obviously, as the person maybe initiating this conversation, maybe you're a business owner, etc., trying to establish that. Do you have some simple steps that people can, practice or make sure they're implementing so the other person feels like they matter? Is this where you go?
Yes. So one of a very good and a very simple way of navigating trust is asking transformational questions, which means it's an open-ended question. I trust you enough to listen to your opinion. And a transformational question, just an example of that would be, if we assume that there was a solution to this problem, what would it look like? So in that questioning, that person will also then open up. And the second element there, Michael, I think really important is that we listen. Because so often we enter into a conversation in a from a positional point of view, because I think we should do this. What do you think? That's already positional. But that you ask that open-ended question, you actually listen to what the other person has to say.
You know, when you're teaching people this skill, and this is just an inquiry now, and this is something that I did when I was earlier on, is it's easy when you're behind a camera like we are to take little notes so I can look at the phrasing you've used and repeat the phrasing. Is repeating phrasing back to a person a good strategy, or is it a condescending strategy? When someone uses certain words, like you used the word matter before, and I instantly tried to paraphrase, bring your word matter into the conversation to show you I'd listened. Is that a good strategy? Can that end up being a little bit condescending sometimes? Or how do you manage that?
Again, I think if that person trusts you, it won't, because that person is open towards what you have to say. So it won't sound condescending. But absolutely, paraphrasing, I think, is crucial, because it's your intent to make sure that you're understanding what that person is saying. It's a great way of clarifying intent.
It's interesting when you use that word. I'm going to paraphrase you again now. The word.
You're doing so well.
He's done the course. The word intent. Now, when we're in business, obviously, we tend to start, well, I tend to start with the end in mind, and I reverse engineer the whole process. So the word intent, does that mean when we go into a conversation, we should have an intent, or should we be a little bit more flexible? What do you say around that, or does it just depend? That's curiosity for me.
Yeah, intent is really what you mean by this conversation. What is it? What is the reason for this specific conversation? And so often in coaching, we have to talk about intent, but also about how you land. Because my intent could be wonderful and for the greater good, but how it lands, I might land a bit rude, but I'm just sort of preoccupied. So there's two elements of intent and of how you land, which is crucial, how you land.
So, and I am very, very conscious of your time, Annemarie, so I really do appreciate it. And I guess there's going to be a few people listening to the conversation and going, okay, I'm listening to quite a few of these strategies, and I think they've been absolutely excellent, but they're going, where do I begin as a person who wants to improve my skill sets in this area?
Michael, I think in the time specifically that we find ourselves is to start off with just listening. In coaching, there's this beautiful term, understanding, which means standing under someone else's reality. So like that instead of us judging and thinking you're right or wrong, or I agree with you or I don't, that's that positional stance that you take, that you truly listen and that you are open to really try and understand where that person comes from. Whether you agree with it or not, that's actually irrelevant. Just give that person an opportunity to really state where they're at. That would be a good start.
I think
for politicians as well.
I think you took the words out of my mouth there. So, conversational intelligence, where can you use it?
With anyone with a brain. If you interacting with any individual that's got a brain, because it's all about the state, about the other person, whether it is a friend, a child that you need to eat pumpkin, you need to get the person to eat pumpkin, or whether it is a business colleague or a teammate. Regardless, if that person has got a brain, the state towards you matters, and you want to navigate that state because you want to get the best of that person.
I love that. What a way to end on that. I love to navigate the state because you want to get the best of that person. And I think that is a really good, going back to your word intent, that is normally the intent of every conversation. You want to get the best of that person, also give them the best of you as well. And I think that was really good wrap up for that particular session.
Thank you, Michael.